Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We have been staying up all night playing college football 25 like pretty much everyone in America, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. How you doing?
I'm doing really good, Tanner. I am pretty tired, like you mentioned, because I haven't put in a lot of hours on NCAA. I'm not going to lie. I had not gamed really at all in the last couple of years, and I've just been going ham on this new game. It's so good. It blew my expectations out of the water, and my expectations were high. That's how good this game is.
It's so fast. It feels so good when you're playing it. It's unbelievable. It's the greatest video game sports experience I've ever had in my life. And I want to play it every single minute of the day, and it's not allowing me to get work done.
Yeah, I am getting my work done. Don't get me wrong, but am I going above and beyond? I don't even know if I should be saying this on the podcast. Am I going above and beyond? No, I'm not, because I'm putting in hours on this game. We were talking off air about kind of what we're doing in the first week. I did jump into Road to Glory. I tried being a 2-star. I'm a 2-star quarterback at Kennesaw State, and I'm going to stick with it, but progress is slow. It's tough. I think I'll probably do another one where I start as a 3-star just to get on the field a little bit earlier. But I've also been doing a lot of offline dynasties, and I've basically just been doing a year and then going to a new one. The reason being, I wanted to try different recruiting approaches. I want to set different pipelines, see what works the best, because that online dynasty I've been telling you about with my buddies, we're starting that on Sunday. So I want to be fully prepared before we jump into that.
Well, what's up with Road to Glory? Because I haven't played that. Dynasty is the way to go in this game. That's what they focused on. That's their best product, I think. And then Ultimate Team's going to be pretty cool too. But like Road to Glory, I'm seeing a lot of people complain when you're a 2-star, you never get on the field. Like just never.
Yeah, so again, I go to Kennesaw State, so I did get on the field as a freshman, but it took me a while. I think it was week 11, which in real life, you wouldn't really make a quarterback change in week 11 anyway, but I was able to get on the field and I was doing everything. You know, you have different tokens you can spend on, you spend one on studying, you spend one on boosting your brand to get better NIL deals, et cetera, et cetera. I was putting all of that towards my coach trust. I was going to practice every week, and then I was finally able to get on the field, but then they were running the ball like 80% of the time. It's just tough, and the players are so bad at Kennesaw State. I'm sorry if we've got a Kennesaw State football player listening to this. I'm throwing dots on the field, and they're dropping all of them. So it's tough to get any sort of stats. And then going into my second year, even though I hadn't done anything, I guess we got a transfer or a freshman or something, because I was second string again at the start of my sophomore year. And this is at Kennesaw State. So if somebody picked one of these big schools, not even Georgia, like if you just pick a reputable school, like in Illinois, a North Carolina State, you're probably not getting on the field until your third or fourth year, bare minimum. So yeah, being a 2-star, it's tough. It's really tough. I think 3-star is the way to go.
Can you change the play as a quarterback if you're a 2-star? Do you have that power?
So I think, well, I know that it depends on your relationship with your coach. Now, I don't know if you start as a 5-star, if you start with more coach trust, but basically it's a matter of what happens is they just call in the play and that's it. That's the play. Then as you build your trust, you'll get an option, or you get 3 options and you can pick from that. And then once your trust gets even higher, then you get the full playbook and you can just pick what you want.
So what are you doing every week? You're just practicing?
Yeah, they have a bunch of different. I've only done Road to Glory as a quarterback. Probably going to do one as a running back soon. But you go to practice and there are different drills. Like they have you throw and try to hit bullseyes. They have you run around scrambling out of the pocket. Basically, it's like you've got to stay alive for 5 seconds and then throw the ball to beat the mini game. And then sometimes as you move up the depth chart, you'll have competitions with the other quarterback or the other player you're trying to take their spot of. And it's the same deal. You just got to go through the mini games, but that player you're trying to replace has a score, and then you have to beat that score to beat them out for the spot.
Some of the texts are wild that are being sent in this game. Like the one I saw on the internet where it was, you're the backup quarterback and the starting quarterback's like, hey, can you wake me up before practice tomorrow? And you have to make the decision to wake him up or not wake him up. Like it's crazy.
Also, some of the names that are being generated in recruiting and dynasty are really funny. Have you seen some of those?
I saw a P. Enos.
Yeah, I saw P. Enos. I saw N-word, which was funny. Not funny, but you know what I mean. And then I saw Jeff Epstein as well, which is great. I don't know how that's getting generated, but it was.
Jeff Epstein's a really solid name for college football 25. Bet he's got really good grasp.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good. I don't know what's a good not Madden. What's a good NCAA? What's an attribute that you would attribute that to?
Jeff
Catching,
Epstein. Jeff Epstein. I don't know.
catching, strength.
I don't know. If he gets tackled, he's going to get tackled pretty hard. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Where should he go? Where does Jeff Epstein go? Penn State?
I don't know. Yeah, probably Penn State. Linebacker. Penn State linebacker. But anyways, yeah, college football 25 is an unbelievable game. It's a lot of fun. If you had to pick your favorite feature to college football 25 so far, favorite moment that you've had playing the game, what would it be?
Honestly, you know what I just really like? I mean, there's a lot to love about this game. I mean, it's not flawless because no game is. There's always gonna be some glitches, some things are overpowered. But I think this is the most balanced sports game that I can remember playing. What I like is just all of the passing routes are available. Like in Madden, there are only a few routes you can throw. It just I think you can't really throw a streak in Madden unless you've got Tyreek Hill and he's playing press man. Like then sure you can get him, but other than that you can't. There's some stuff over the middle that you can't throw. Trick plays in Madden never work. All that's out the window in this game, and part of that is I think because of how difficult it is to play on the road, and also the developers said they skewed it so that it's easier to play offense because in college football they're usually high scoring games because offenses are ahead of defense. But I just like the versatility that's available to you. You want to run a double reverse flea flicker that ends up being a 50-yard bomb, you're allowed to do that. You want to run a simple screen, you can do that. You can run a triple option. Like, there's just so much to pick from. That's my favorite part.
The cornerbacks in Madden are crazy. They can be not watching the ball, turn around, make a one-handed pick like nothing. So I agree with that. I think when I'm looking at this game, my favorite part about it is just how fast it is, like how much flow there is in the game. Like when you're running the football, you actually can make cuts and all that. My biggest issue with it, when you're running read option, I don't know if you remember this from like NCAA 14, but when you hold A, that was handoff before. So now it's the other way around. You have to hold A for the pull, which I think is like, my brain is not processing it because I'm still used to that.
I think it's the same thing in Madden too. I think it's the same opposite. Like it's the same way the kicking meter is new, this option system is new as well. So yeah, it's been an adjustment with me for that as well.
Yeah, and I've never done it in Madden. Is this just this year in Madden, or was it last year? Because I've never run read option in Madden before.
I think there's only a couple playbooks where you could do it because a lot of them have the RPOs, but like I think the Ravens playbook might have had it. You could do some read option stuff. I don't know exactly, but this year, what is this year? This year's still Madden 24, right? Yeah, it was this year. It was this Madden. You could do it.
The RPOs in this game are insane. Every time, pretty much, if you're running like bubble screen off a dive or something, the bubble screen is like always open for a touchdown. It's crazy.
Yeah, I love that bubble screen RPO. I really like. I'm using I'll put you on some game here. The best playbook that I found is Arizona. It's a pro style, so you can do an awful lot with it. But they've also got every trick play in the book. They've got wildcat formations. Like it's dope. Arizona offense, I recommend. But they have a jet sweep, which is I've seen a lot of playbooks have that little. It's like a jet sweep, but the quarterback just tosses it to him. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a little half yard.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. So this is
that
just
should never count as a pass too, either. Like when the stat sheet, that should never count as a pass.
I mean, it shouldn't. It does, but it shouldn't. But I have a real jet sweep where it's not the pass. It's an actual jet sweep, and that play works like a charm every time I call it. Also, a lot of side-to-side stuff is really good. Like there's a play I have where you start in shotgun, the back's on, let's say you're right, and then he starts going in motion to the left. You hike the ball, and then you just throw a little sweep over to him, and he's already full speed. You got blockers on the outside. Those side-to-side plays are really good in this game.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great game. Talking about it makes me want to stop the podcast and go play it. So let's keep moving through the podcast so we can go play some more video games, right? Looking at the WNBA, Grant, big moment for the WNBA. Should we start with Caitlin Clark or should we start with the media rights deal and how much it involves Caitlin Clark? Probably her assists.
Yeah, let's start with what she did last night.
She still lost though. Like that's like when it comes down to it, she still lost the basketball game, and I need her to cover, and she didn't do that.
Did you bet on her?
Yeah, I took -3.5.
Well, for those who don't know what we're talking about, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever had a very interesting game last night because Caitlin Clark set an all-time WNBA record. She had 24 points. That wasn't the record. 19 assists. That was the record. Also had 6 rebounds, but they still lose to the Wings, who got their 6th win of the season by beating them. So I can understand why you took the Fever, especially considering the Fever recently moved into playoff contention. So good for them. But yeah, an all-time record for Caitlin Clark and the Fever here. And I'm not sure if that was their last game before the upcoming break for the Olympics. I believe it was, right?
There's no games till like August now, I think.
Yeah, they're off for a month. And that's because of the Olympics. It's weird seeing I understand it is the WNBA and they're not the NFL or the NBA, so they've kind of got to put their season in a quote-unquote undesirable spot. But it's just weird to have a month-long break in the middle of your season.
It's very weird, and the problem is you're going to be finishing off like should be the best part of your season when the NFL and college football are like getting into the heart of theirs. Like, I think the WNBA championships in like October. No one's going to watch that when there's college football and NFL on. So I hope they scheduled it around that.
But here's the thing, right? The reason we have this break is because the Olympics are coming up, and we talked about it. Everybody talked about it when the roster came out and Caitlin Clark was not on the roster. You know, not to beat a dead horse, but Tanner, basically our position was, is Caitlin Clark number 12 in the WNBA? Maybe, maybe not. Is she top 13, 14, 15? Probably so. And you just got to put her on the team for what she's done. I'm going to go out there and say she is top 12 now. I mean, seriously, she as a rookie has an all-time record. Nobody in the history of the league has gotten 19 assists like she just did. No other rookie in the history of the league had a triple-double, which she did. I mean, she's had multiple 30-point games. Looking at her averages as a rookie, she's averaging 17, 8, and 6. Like, that is good enough to get her on this Olympic team. She doesn't have to start. She doesn't have to play 20 or 30 minutes a night. You can give her 8 minutes a game, and when she's out there, she'll probably get like 5 or 6 assists in those 8 minutes.
The Fever are also terrible, too. So the fact that she got all these assists with the caliber of players she has around her is even more amazing because they got to make shots for her to get assists. I think she would have had bigger assist games all season, but the Fever drop passes. They don't make shots. And Caitlin Clark's no angel by any means. She's turning the ball over on her own merit a lot too. Like, it's not just her teammates dropping passes, but the Fever are not a good basketball team.
No, they're not. And I mean, like, to just to go back to what she did, I mean, in this game, she shot 53% from the field. This isn't a Rajon Rondo game where he had, do you remember the famous game where he had like 2 points, 27 assists, and 9 rebounds or something like that? It's not one of those where she's not shooting or she's not scoring. She had 24 points on 53%. That in and of itself is a good game. If she has 5 assists, she had 19 of them. So yeah, like the Fever, they could obviously better. They're only 11 and 15, but Caitlin Clark is just really good. And I understand she hasn't found her 3 yet. Part of that, to your point, is that the Fever don't have a lot of players to just draw attention off of them. Like, think about if the Boston Celtics didn't have Derek White and Drew Holiday and Al Horford. Like, it's just Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Well, guess what? They don't get to play one-on-one anymore. You know, they were some of the best. The Celtics actually were number 1 in the league in finding mismatches and I think points per possession involving switches by the defense. If there's nobody else to account for, the defense isn't switching or they're showing doubles at you. Caitlin Clark's not getting that opportunity, so her 3 isn't falling. But nonetheless, like, she's just been so good throughout this year that we've talked about it enough. She deserves to be on that team.
Yeah, and the bigger reason she deserves to be on the team is because of all the attention she grabs. And you think in a year where you're going for the contract and they've got this big media deal and there's all this attention around women's basketball, if you send her to the Olympics, the women's basketball team is going to have so many eyes on them. People are going to want to go cover the woman. And maybe cover the women more than the men in some cases. But they're not going to get that attention anymore. No one's going to care because the U.S. is going to roll through this tournament. And nobody's going to be watching because there's no Caitlin Clark. And people get triggered by that. And I don't understand why. Caitlin Clark is the meal ticket to the WNBA. There's a lot of really good players around her that are now getting attention. But as far as people caring, it's amazing they started caring this year when Caitlin Clark came into the league. Nobody cared about the WNBA the past few seasons. They cared about college basketball because Caitlin Clark was in college basketball and this progression and the NIL and the All-Star fan votes. Like she got the most All-Star fan votes, and she's doing well enough to make the Olympic team. She should have been on the Olympic team. It's not even a question.
And this is the thing too. It's fine to have that competitive nature and want to have a rivalry with her. You know, the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark thing is a rivalry. Granted, I think part of it was bred out of jealousy, but still, that's a rivalry. You know, if the Indiana Fever consistently go up against X team and they consistently lose, that's a rivalry. That's fine. That is sports. That's in the fabric of sports. But what the WNBA is doing that is hurting itself is that everybody just looks jealous of her. And because of that, it seems like, I don't know if this is their goal. It's probably not. But it seems as if they're going out of their way to try to hold her back. Like if you think back to when the NBA really went global, we had the rivalry. We had Magic Johnson and we had Larry Bird. We had Lakers, Celtics. And then when Michael Jordan gets to the league, he adds another wrinkle. All those players had rivalries with one another, but they weren't going out of their way to try to tear them down and basically self-destruct the league because they were jealous of Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson. But this is what's happening in the WNBA. So, I mean, it's a good thing they got that new media rights deal, though, which we're about to talk about, because hopefully that will bring some more money into the league. You know, they'll be able to upgrade the facilities and get maybe more expansion teams, get more people in seats, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe the league really takes off with Caitlin Clark as the face of the league.
Yeah, I agree. So the WNBA gets a new media rights deal. Usually it's $50 million a year. Now they're going to get $200 million a year with the potential to earn another $60 million on top of that. Caitlin Clark is responsible, in my opinion, for 97% of this. 98%. It's not the Aces. It's not Ajay Wilson. It's not Angel Reese. It's Caitlin Clark, 98%.
What do you remember how much that contract, the shoe deal she signed was? Was it $20 million?
It was 20. I think it might have been 24.
Okay, but it was above 20 at the bare minimum. And that was I believe that was the largest contract for a women's basketball shoe. I mean, they'll make men's versions, but you know what I'm saying.
It's probably more than like Brandon Stewart's made in her entire career.
Yeah, so I mean, this is just the point. And this is what you and I have continually said. Is it fair, just flat out? Because Caitlin Clark right now the best player in the NBA? No, that's Ajay Wilson. So is it fair that Caitlin Clark is gonna be the one who gets the most followers and makes the most money? No, it's not fair, but that's not how the world works. That's not how business works. If I create the best tasting popcorn in the entire world and I go to Giant and I sell 10 bags a month, well, guess what? I'm going to go out of business. That's just not, it's about having the product and then delivering, getting sales, getting tickets, et cetera, driving viewership on TV. That is what Caitlin Clark does. And when I'll be honest, nobody really ever talked about the WNBA from a national media landscape perspective. You know, Stephen A. Smith was not talking about the WNBA on First Take. Skip Bayless and whoever else is in there, Shannon Sharp and all these, nobody was talking about the WNBA on a national television perspective. Were there followers? Yes. Have there been good players in the WNBA? Absolutely. But the fact that women's basketball has risen to prominence like this, it's directly tied to about Caitlin Clark's junior year, and it's just stuck with her ever since. So when you ask the question, what percentage does she deserve? From an infrastructural standpoint and, you know, all the teams she's playing, very little. But from her actual impact on where the game is and where it's going, as long as she continues to pan out, then I'm with you. It's got to be like 90-95% on her shoulders.
Well, if you just picture Caitlin Clark's not in the picture. All right. So no Caitlin Clark. We have Angel Reese. We have all these other girls come to the league, but there's no Caitlin Clark. Does anyone care? Like, go take Caitlin Clark out of the equation. Poof. 4 years at Iowa, never there. Is there the LSU Iowa game never happens? Is Caitlin Clark? Does anyone care about WNBA right now?
I mean, right now it's impossible to know for sure. It's unlikely. It's unlikely. Maybe Sabrina, or not Sabrina. Maybe Paige Beckers. Maybe she's the next one because Paige is awesome. Maybe people could have and will still buy into her. Or maybe Sabrina was, taking that step forward because she competed with Steph. You remember during the NBA All-Star Weekend, she had that 3-point shootout with Steph.
That didn't move the needle.
Well, I'm saying maybe that's what set the ball in motion. Maybe that was the first step, and maybe they were preparing to market Sabrina as that person. Maybe Ajay Wilson, because what Ajay Wilson, by the way, is doing is ridiculous. I mean, she is balling out of her mind. Go look up her stats for July. They are insane. The point I'm making is it could have happened, and maybe it was going to, but we'll never know. The simple fact is there had never been an impact on women's basketball like the one Caitlin Clark made as a junior in college. And now we're 2 years later. Now she's finally in the WNBA, and you're seeing the media rights deal reflect her impact.
Yeah. In the world of NIL, it's wild. She was just the chosen one. Because you can make the argument there's been better college basketball players than Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was a really good three-point shooter in college. She did a lot of great things, obviously. But you look at Breanna Stewart. She's a 4-time All-American, I believe, 4-time national champion. She did a lot more from that perspective than Caitlin Clark did, but she wasn't the chosen one because of the NIL. I think because of Iowa, older people love women's basketball, sitting there watching Caitlin Clark, the national media. And Caitlin, what's crazy too about Caitlin Clark? She's not active on social media. It's not like she's this massive social media influencer. So it's crazy how she became the chosen one through NIL.
Excuse me. I also think it has to do with her style of play, though, because if you remember when Steph Curry really burst onto the scene, he wins that unanimous MVP. He gets them back-to-back in 2014 and 2015. A lot of the reason he was so popular is, first of all, what he was doing had just we'd never seen that happen before. And this is just how life goes. It doesn't even really matter what someone is doing. As if they're good at it and we've never seen it before, then it's going to be interesting. And with Steph, it was the long-range marksmanship. I mean, he was taking 2 steps past half court, shooting, and it was considered a good shot. We've never seen anything like that before. So it was how good he was, how he innovated his style of play. And then also it's just exciting because if you turn on a men's game and you're watching a 6'10", 280-pound man dunk a ball, well, I can't do that. But if I watch Steph, hit a little crossover, take 2 steps to his right, hits a sidestep 3, I can go outside. I can do that. I can't do it as consistently as Steph does, but I can go to the park and I can hit a little step back 3. So for all these people watching Caitlin Clark, it's the same phenomenon. We've never seen a woman be able to shoot like that at the college level. It was an exciting style. And same thing. She's 5'11", 6 feet, 160 pounds. There's plenty of girls walking around right now that look exactly like her. And same thing, can just go to a gym right now and they can take some of the same shots Caitlin Clark is doing. Can they do it as well as her? No, they can't, but they can still emulate that style. So I think she was just much more relatable for most basketball fans. And that's a big part of why she ended up taking off as this big brand.
Yeah, I agree. But she is. So what's your two? We both said 99%, basically.
I would say not 99, but I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm at 95.
Yeah, in the 90s for sure. Okay, so Jaylen Brown whispers over to his girlfriend sitting there at Summer League. The cameras catch him in the wrong moment. Says Bronny's not a pro. Then he tweets it's not even an apology. It was, do you have it up? It was basically saying,
I'm pulling it up right now. That was the funniest part, though, because it
wasn't an apology. It was congrats to LeBron for playing with your son, basically. And Bronny's got a lot of hope in the future. Nothing he really said was wrong, in my opinion. Saying Bronny's not a pro, he's not a pro. Let's just be straight up. Bronny is not a professional basketball player right now in this moment. And what he said about LeBron, it's really cool that LeBron gets played with his son, which I think was the first part of that. And then the second part was Bronny has a promising future if he stays on the grind. He probably does. Bronny can probably be a half decent NBA player because he's never really played a lot of competitive basketball. He hasn't played a lot.
Yeah. So I got the tweet up right now. Jaylen Brown, he quote tweets. First of all, it looks like it's from Sports Center, but it's actually from an account called the Bricks Center. And the tweet says, Jaylen Brown said, I don't think Bronny is a pro. So Jaylen Brown quote tweets this and says, it's a flex to have your son alongside you in the NBA. It reflects greatness and longevity. Bronny has all the tools around him to be successful. I look forward to watching his growth. So the first part of that, let's break this down. It reflects greatness and longevity. This isn't even talking about Bronny. This is about LeBron's really good, and he's been really good for a long time. Okay, cool. What's the next part of that sentence, or the next part of this tweet? Bronny has all the tools around him to be successful. I look forward to watching his growth. Yes, Jaylen Brown, I agree. I agree he has tools to be successful because his dad is one of the 2 best basketball players ever, maybe the best, depending on who you ask. They've got a new coach who, while we don't know if JJ Redick will be a good coach or not, he's coming in with the mindset of trying to be developmental. He wants to help people grow. One of the best, probably 15, 20 best shooters ever. So yes, I agree. He is in a situation to maximize what he has, but none of what he said deals with what the video caught him saying of, I don't think Bronny's. Yes, LeBron is good, and yes, Bronny can get better. Is he a pro or not? He didn't answer that, and I think the reason is because he doesn't believe it. Jaylen Brown, from what I've seen from him, whether it's some of his political or social stances, he is not going to back down from what he believes, and if he says something, he's going to stick with it. So I think this was just almost a continuation of this. You know, he's not going to come out and say, this isn't what I said or this is wrong. He's basically saying, yeah, I want Bronny to succeed, but at the same time, I don't think he's a pro right now.
Yeah, he stuck with it in the way to satisfy the king, right? Like, because it's LeBron's kid. You can't go out and double down on your statement. You had to just kind of clear the air by not apologizing, but admitting you were wrong. And Bronny's not a pro right now. Like he's a G League capable player. And, you know, it's funny. He probably should be still playing in college. If Bronny would have just stayed in college for the next few years, he might have been a higher round pick because he hasn't played a lot of basketball. You're telling me, like, you look at all the 55th picks over the past 4 years. Like, this is where, like, it's definitely a nepotism pick. We know that, but we're also giving him like a $7 million contract, right? I believe it was $9 million in that range.
I think it was 7.9.
And I think the last 3 or 4 55th picks, 2 were two-way contracts. One was a $75,000 NBA contract. And then you got Bronny.
So let me jump in here. That one's a little misleading because you aren't wrong, but last year's 57th pick signed basically the same exact deal Bronny did. People in that region, a lot of them do get this deal. It's just that some of them don't. So it's not uncommon at all for people in there to get that deal, but sometimes they will get those lesser deals. So it's not unheard of that Bronny got that. He just happened to be in the quote unquote kind of lucky half of that battle.
And he's not deserving of the deal based on how summer league, based on what he did in college, and and I know he had the heart problem, but based on what he did in college and based on what he's done in summer league so far, it's not a good look. And he also doesn't really assert himself that well. Have you noticed that? He's very quiet. So this is
the thing. If you go back to when Bronny even first appeared in high school and you started getting actual footage of him playing these bigger high school, that was always the knock. It was always he doesn't involve himself in the game. He doesn't look like a strong presence or anything. He's intelligent with what he does on the court, but he doesn't get on the ball enough to really make decisions, or he doesn't put himself in those spots. So yeah, this is not anything new for Bronny.
Yeah, he just doesn't look like he wants to be there. It's a lot of pressure. He's not even 21 years old. Like, he's just a kid.
It is a ton of pressure. And I mean, you're seeing, like, I saw a highlight, a clip, really, I should say. I saw a clip on Twitter the other day, and it was just Bronny deflecting a pass. Like, he jumped high to get it, but it wasn't a block. It wasn't a steal. It didn't lead to an assist. He just tipped a pass out of bounds. And someone replied to it and said, I've never seen a highlight of a tipped pass before. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And you know how after players, and a lot of, it's either rookies or players who have big nights, you'll get the highlight videos of on YouTube. There was one of Bronny where he scored 2 points, and the thumbnail, like half of it is Bronny, and the other side says 2 points. We're getting a highlight video for one basket. There's so much pressure on him to succeed, and it is just because he's LeBron's son. Like, he's not. I agree with you. He's not NBA ready right now.
And that's why I think he should own that too, in the sense of, like, when he was asked, were you around an NBA locker room a lot? You're like, yeah, LeBron's my dad. instead of being like, no, I was doing my own thing. And some of the, and I want, we all want Bronny to succeed. And, Sports Center is going to continue to run highlights of him because it's summer league and there's nothing else going on right now. But it's a shame to him because this is just, LeBron, everybody involved, Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, I don't think they put him in the best situation to succeed. You took him out before he was ready. You put him in the Lakers organization with his dad. He's got a big contract. I know you said people in that area get that contract, but he's got a big contract for a kid who's probably going to spend most of his time in the G League this year and probably the next year if he's not ready yet. So there's just a lot going against him right now. And I don't think any of it was his decision. I think he's just going with whatever he's been told to do. Because as a kid, he was making couple million dollars in college. He didn't really get a lot of time in college. You think you want to just play in college for another year and try to get better and hopefully be a first-round draft pick on your own merit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. And I don't want to be that guy who accuses athletes of not being able to have free time because, we both competed in college and high school, and we know how committed you have to be an athlete at that level. I can't even imagine being a professional athlete. Like you've got to eat right. You've got to sleep enough. You got to take naps in the middle of the day. You got multiple practice sessions, physio, training, rehab, stretching, gym, weights. I understand there is so much that is a part of that, but for Bronny to be playing as bad as he is in the summer league and then to win the Call of Duty tournament they have there, again, I'm not going to say Bronny isn't allowed to play Call of Duty in his off time because we're playing NCAA in the middle of our workday, but it's just
I don't make $7 million a year. I don't make $7 million a year to play basketball though.
Yeah, and you're also not. He made a couple of threes last night, but up to that he was like 1 of 15 or 0 of 15 or something from three. It's just there's a time and a place for everything. And this is what I give LeBron credit for too, by the way, because despite the whole world wanting to find something wrong with LeBron since he got into the spotlight at 16, he's pretty much never really put a foot wrong. Is he passive aggressive on social media sometimes? Sure, but he recognizes there's a time, there's a place, and everybody's watching me. It just, for you to be playing as bad as you were, for the spotlight to be on you as much as it was, to be stinking at Summer League and then win the Call of Duty tournament, it's just,
was it a
probably
big
shouldn't have played that one.
Was it like a sponsored big tournament?
I don't know what it was. People in the bubble, or not in the bubble. What am I saying? In Summer League, whether they were playing or just visiting. Like Grant Williams got second. He's not playing in the Summer League, but he was there watching and he jumped in, I guess.
Okay. Grant makes sense why Grant Williams got second in college.
Yeah,
he plays a lot more Call of Duty than basketball.
It almost makes Bronny look worse, the fact he won, if Grant Williams was there, because then okay, this was not a serious competition at all.
But if Bronny does what Grant Williams has done in his career, he had a successful career.
I agree, 100%. Yeah.
And Grant Williams, we look at Grant Williams like the biggest goofball in the NBA. But if he does what Grant Williams did, he had a successful career.
I want to see where Grant Williams was drafted. He was drafted 22nd overall. Grant Williams in college was actually good. I don't know if you know this, but Grant Williams was the SEC Player of the Year in college.
I don't think he's not bad now. He's just he had some big moments when he was in Boston. He's just
he set a Game 7 record for threes made, right? Do you remember that game where he took 23?
I was at that game. It was game 7, I think, against the Bucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was against the Bucks. That's right, because the Bucks were up 3-2, and then Boston won 2 straight.
Beat them in Milwaukee, and then they won Game 7 at home, I think.
Yeah,
right?
and Grant Williams went it was 8 of 19 from 3 or something like that. And Jason Tatum said good job, but never do that again.
Grant Williams is just that guy who's he's not the starter. He's not a bench player. He's not Thanasis or whatever, right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
He's not, but he's going to give you valuable minutes, and he's probably a 2 or a 3 option in a smaller market, and that's kind of what he's become now,
Yeah, because I don't know what's going to happen with him in Charlotte. Charlotte is just where you go to lose your career. So I guess we'll see what happens.
He's a good trade piece. He's probably a guy that can mentor the youngsters in Charlotte.
You said trade piece. He was a great trade piece for Dallas because Dallas was out of the playoffs, I think, before the trade deadline. And then they used Grant Williams and Seth Curry to get PJ Washington. And look how that worked out for them.
Yeah, worked out well. So anyways, Grant, why don't you take us out of here?
Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. Tanner and I hope that you all enjoy your weekends. Before you get out of here, make sure you do hit that like button, press the subscribe button as well. Drop some comments. Let us know who you are going to be betting on this weekend. We've got baseball coming back after the All-Star break. We will catch you guys all in the next episode of Ride the Line.